Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers, and tonight we got some news that so many gamers will not be happy to hear. Nvidia gives a smackdown to gamers. Despite record gaming revenues, Nvidia reportedly plans to cut RTX 50 series production to allocate it to newer AI hardware. Why does this feel like Bitcoin mining all over again, cryptocurrency mining all over again, right? Except for this time, instead of people and scalpers and everybody, or the crypto miners just buying up all the cards, Nvidia is doing it to themselves. They're biting the hand that feeds them, right? So it says, despite posting record revenues with its gaming segment, Nvidia reportedly plans to cut RTX 50 series GPU production by 20 to 30%. This move reportedly allows Nvidia to dedicate more production to its AI hardware, which is now Nvidia's primary source of revenue. So screw you, gamers. We found a better way to make money, and we don't care about you. If these claims are true, it's clear that gaming is no longer a priority to Nvidia, which I think the gamers should probably already also make Nvidia not a priority for them. Stop buying their GPUs. Then you could just get all your money from AI, and then when Google's TensorFlow TPUs outpace you, you can just go the way of the dodo. And then when you complain that your revenue and you're going out of business, all the gamers can go, "Who? Woe is me," because that's what I would say to them. I've liked NVIDIA GPUs for years. I've ran them mostly in my system. Very rarely have I gone over to AMD or anything like that. But it sounds like now, NVIDIA is just like, whatever. I don't care about you guys. I don't care about the people who made us who we are today. We have to, instead of us growing to allow us to create more chips for AI, we're just going to cut because right now 50 series are still freaking expensive, and they're hard to come by still, but whatever it is. So in the article it continues on. It says Nvidia's new GB300 series AI chips reportedly enter mass production this month, and it looks like the Blackwell GPU production is taking a hit. This change comes as RTX 50 series GPU prices have started to stabilize. They don't want that. They want them to be artificially high, right? That means there's a lot more demand than supply, which is still kind of true. Not as bad as what it has been. So it says, with NVIDIA RTX 5090 becoming available below NVIDIA's MSRP in the UK, this is why they're moving this direction. It's just weird that they're doing this, but it's not the first time that we have felt that NVIDIA is favoring AI or something else over gamers, because they've done it with I remember when the market for crypto mining GPUs was high, they had put a little bit of focus on the higher mining, the cards that were used a lot more in mining, because they were like, we can make more money, we can mass sell these cards, whereas the gamers are buying these cards in onesie twosies, right? So they've done this before. They keep biting the hand that feeds them, and gamers just keep going back to them. It's really hard. This is just bad news for gamers, and I really hate to hear this. But maybe if these guys get out of the market, AMD will just flourish, and I don't know. Because right now, what do we got? Intel's kind of jumped back into the market again here recently with their video cards and making a lot of that stuff. But what I hope happens is that NVIDIA just screws over the gamers enough where they decide not to support them anymore, and then Google's TPU, TensorFlow units, populate all their data centers, and then they don't, because they partnered with Google, and I don't understand this partnership. They've got a partnership with Google for like some portable hardware. It's like some portable hardware for AI using their GPUs. And I just don't get it. I mean, I understand NVIDIA probably doesn't want to release any of their TPUs to the public for like any on-site dev kits or anything like that. But, one of these days, Google may saturate the market and NVIDIA will be hosed, and then they've got no backup plan because they've soured their reputation with gamers. Because they seem to keep doing this. They're like, gamers are not, gamers have made their company what it is, but they don't really feel the need to honor or keep up with that at all. They're just like, whatever. We're going to go, whoever makes us the most money, which is what a company should do. But at the same time, you shouldn't do something to negatively affect the reputation you have with the gaming community. By saying you're going to slash 20 to 30% of your 50 series, and you think you can do that because things are going below MSRP, which then you're creating an artificial, I mean, not really artificial, a true supply issue again, because you just decide, they're playing OPEC's game, right? The oil company's game, where they're just like, we're gonna turn down the dial on the amount of oil we're gonna put out. And these guys are just like, we're gonna turn down the dial on the number of 50 series GPUs we're gonna put out. Move that traffic over to our AI division and let them build more of the AI based GPUs, because that's where our money's at, instead of just growing the company. I don't know why they're maybe they just don't have the facilities. I don't know all the details about some of that stuff, but if you are doing that, it just seems smacking gamers in the face. Leave an internal memo and go on. Don't blatantly wave it around in front of gamers' faces. Nick, what do you think about Nvidia and their 50 series? I don't have a 50 series because they're really too expensive. I mean, I have a 4070 Ti Super, so I don't really feel like I have the need to do the 50 series. Typically, when I go in the higher end of a series of card, I skip a generation. But what do you think about this? And were you hoping to buy a 50 series GPU soon?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't expecting to buy a 50 series. Plus, the 50 series for them has not been doing so hot, especially with their drivers. They've been having a lot of issues with their drivers lately. I know a lot of people on discussion boards think that, jokingly say, AI must be writing their drivers now because they all suck. I mean, because, me and you, I have a 4080. Me and you, we're running drivers from December of 2024, because anything past that, and it doesn't work well with the 40 series cards. Right. And so, but even reading some discussion boards and stuff like that, like even the 50 people that do have 50 series cards, all the new drivers keep breaking. They fix certain things, but then it breaks other things, and they're still having problems with them, right? And they've released a ton of drivers since the 50 series have come out. So I don't know what Nvidia is doing. I mean, yeah, clearly they're shifting focus from the gamers to their AI, and wanting to be more of that flagship in the AI section. They did do the chipset for Nintendo, their GPU CPU chipset for the Switch 2. So they'll probably get some pretty good revenue out of that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully AMD, AMD has gotten better. I usually go Nvidia as well, but I've heard the newer Radeons, and especially the drivers for the Radeons, have been really top tier lately. And that was one of the things with Nvidia, was their drivers were always phenomenal, right? For their graphics cards. Their graphics cards were great too, but their drivers were always great for them. And that's really kind of, and AMD's always made great cards, but their drivers have been lacking. And apparently, from what I've been reading online, is lately AMD's drivers have been really great. And it's kind of flip flop, right? Nvidia's drivers have been horrible. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. But I mean, I usually go Nvidia as well. But I mean, if AMD continues to build out their cards, and their cards are usually cheaper as well, build out their cards to be a better option, then, my next card might be a Radeon instead of an Nvidia, especially if Nvidia decides not to turn things around, right? They're already talking about making their 60s, I believe, series cards, or at least starting that process. But, if they can't get it right with their 50 series, I don't know, it feels like they have a skeleton crew doing everything in their 50 series right now, drivers and all that stuff. So they've definitely moved things over to the AI portion of things. And that's where a lot of companies are going, which understandable, but at the same time, there's, I don't know, you could really get into AI is a really cool thing. We've all used it, Gemini and Copilot and, whatever else, Chat GPT and Grok now we have, and all that stuff, right? Everyone's used some form or function of it, and it's a really cool thing. But there's got to be some. I feel like it's a thing that's going to. I feel like it is going to be the future, right, of things, but it might end up. I don't know. It could end up harming certain sectors of the economy at the same time, right? Businesses as well as consumers, and various jobs and production lines and all sorts of things, right? If you're going to do AI, you really, I feel like it needs to be a collective thing with not just the businesses, right? It's because right now it's mainly like the businesses just focusing on it, but the consumer side of things, like they haven't thought past, we're going to build this and get into that market and create these devices and things like that. But what happens when we do that, right? How does the consumer, what happens with the jobs, consumers, the economy? How does things grow with this? And it's kind of like, I almost feel like all companies out there are approaching AI with a blindfold on. It almost feels like, right? They're just building it to be the first, to really like knock it out of the park, and kind of hold that AI trophy in their hands. And Nvidia just wants a piece of that pie, right? So yeah, it kind of saddens me with the with the 50 series cards. They are still expensive. I do see people get them though, so it's not like it's impossible. But I have no intention of getting a 50 series card. My 4080 does perfectly fine. And we'll see what happens in the future when it's time to upgrade, what direction I go. Just depends on if I don't know. Like you said, Pat, Nvidia has done this before, so it might be time to change teams, right? Jump on the AMD Radeon boat instead.
Yeah. Well, especially what they did with the VRAM this series too, like super low amounts of VRAM on most of the cards. Like they lowered it. Like cards that would normally have 12 gigabits of the VRAM are now just 8.
Right.
And you're like, come on, I need these cards seem to really need that too. They're stuttering and kind of all kinds of garbage happening with them too on the 50 series. So.
Well, and that and the power consumption like these cards need, right, is insane.
Lots of issues on the initial release, right? Melting connectors and
they had that with the 4090 series, and I think they even had that with the 50 series or some of the 5090s or something. I don't think it was as rampant as the 40 series had, but it was still a problem.
Melting connectors,
with the melting connectors. And so, I mean, that's another thing that
and they also
these card manufacturers need to think about is the power usage of these cards.
Didn't they also have an issue with like some of the CUDA cores were dead or something on a lot of the units?
The initial batches.
Yeah.
They were like missing some chips on there.
Yeah,
or something
like they were dead, and it wasn't like they just died randomly. They were like that from the off the factory floor. So
like
they were actually missing some components or whatever on there. And I'm like, wow, that seems pretty hardcore. I mean, and the only reason gamers knew is because somebody discovered it and they were like, hey, you need to run this to show you that the cores are there or not, right?
Right.
And they're like, oh my God, what's going on here?
Is AI doing quality assurance?
Yeah, that's what happened. They fired all their regular staff, and AI is now doing their driver updates and
their quality assurance tests.
And they're like 10%'s marginal, right? We accept 10%. 10%. We succeed.
I was like, I think some of these cores are missing. They're like, it's pipeline.
Yeah, as long as 10% of the cards are good, because they got it backwards, right? 10% of the failures is good. AI is like, 10% of the successes is good, right?
10% success. A few cards made it, so we're good.
Yeah. So, lots of issues with the 50 series, and then the drivers associated with these newer cards.
Yeah. So, I mean, Nvidia really needs to turn around.
They don't care, obviously.
Don't care. Yeah.
This just proves that they're not focused on us because of all the bad driver issues, the quality control issues of the 50 series, and then just sweeping them under, or not acknowledging them until they become widespread enough that people are talking about them all over the forums or I mean,
they did the same thing with the 40 cards, right? It took forever for them to finally do something about the connector melting thing. Like they denied for the longest time. Saying it was user error and various things like that before they actually took some credibility for the issue. And, that's another, like I said, that's another thing that I don't know how Radeon or AMD is looking at it, but power consumption of these cards. So like I understand these cards are getting more powerful and they do consume more power, but that's something that these companies should really look into is like, hey, how can we get the same amount of power, but reduce, or same amount of power out of the card, but yet reduce the need for so much power from the, from the PC, from the
here
power
it is.
supply.
There was units were being shipped from the manufacturer missing the render output units. So there was a defect being shipped with fewer ROPs than specified. Yeah. And I'm like,
wow.
I'm like, and stuff that probably most people wouldn't recognize as a problem. And
yeah,
it takes somebody who's really is familiar with the hardware specifications to be running hardware benchmark tests or looking at things to pull that out. And then everybody's like, I gotta check my card.
Right. I mean, that's the same thing with having the melting connectors and stuff too. It kind of became...
That was an easy one though, right? Your connector melts. Right. You're like, my shit's on fire, or it's smoked. I let the smoke out and now it won't go back in.
Right. But I mean, like, it was the so many people talking about online having the same exact issue, right? Because I even saw people at first, kind of defending Nvidia, being like, oh, user error. But some of it could be user error because they are hard. Those connectors are difficult to push in. They are very stubborn to get into the cards. And half the time you don't even know if it's in there. You're just like, I think it's in all the way. I don't know.
I felt it kind of
I think I felt the click. I'm not sure. Yeah. It looks like it. I hope it doesn't melt. That's how I did mine.
Hope it doesn't burn my house down. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. What do you think, Shane?
No, I'm just here for the ride.
It's all the tech candy.
All the tech stuff is not me. I don't understand computers like these guys. I do know AI is a bad thing. In my opinion, I mean, everything's good or bad depending on implementation. I mean, hell, a knife can kill you or a knife can make you a sandwich. I mean, it's all depending on how it's used. But it worries me that the speed at which everything is running over to AI. Everybody's wanting to do AI this, AI that. I work in architecture, and it scares the shit out of me with what AI is going to be able to do. And is it going to take my job one day? Is somebody going to be like, well, I want to build something, so I'll just type it into the computer here and boom, I got to build them. That worries me. It doesn't say in the article if they plan on reducing certain 50 cards, like 70s or 90s or whatever. So I was kind of wondering about that. And then I started looking at the sale numbers to see if, where they were kind of at on sales. Now, where this article is at from March 13th, Nvidia says it sold twice as many RTX 50 series cards as it did the 40 series in the first 5 weeks. So, I mean, if they're selling that well, it seems very odd if they're going to just cut back like that.
They can make more money with the AI ones,
create scarcity, and the article says, oh my God, I better go get it now because it's going to be even harder later. So I don't know. I don't like AI. Don't get me wrong. I mean, AI is going to have its place. It has to. I use AI at times. Me and Pat, we were talking about this the other night. I used AI to do some text for me, and it foobarred it a little bit. And, AI is still not there. I mean, I'm not worried about AI taking my job right now, but it will be taking jobs soon, a lot more jobs. And that's where that's where my fear comes in. So whether or not they reduce their production on these cards, that doesn't bother me as much as the fact that they're really pushing towards AI.
Consumer level AI and then free level AI is like light years behind the paid for and the development level AI. Mm-hmm. Like I use AI, frequently, but I also play with like production level Gemini stuff. And that stuff is like way and above what you can use for free out here. Just using like VO, Gemini VO and an image, the imagery one. I mean, you can use Gemini to take an image and fully articulate it turn it into a moving item just by giving it some prompts. Like I can take an image of a guitar, like you can just take an image of whatever you want and you can then prompt around it, and Gemini can animate that thing so well that it's hard to tell what's been animated sometimes. You can catch the artifacts every now and then, but nowhere near like a lot of this consumer freeware grade stuff.
You can definitely see it when you see the little videos online. Like the big one going around now is the babies reenacting movies and stuff.
You can see it in their lips. Yeah.
A little, but every time you see it, they look better and better.
Well, yeah. Have you seen the Sasquatch ones that are out there?
Yes, I have. And really good. It. Yeah, where he played the prank, put the dynamite in the campfire. Yeah, love that one.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not concerned about the cards being reduced in production. I'm just concerned about the mass production of AI implementation.
Yeah, like I went to Google Cloud Next this year, and they showed off they put on an entire segment, like a music performance, all generated by AI. The imagery, the video, the music, all of it was AI generated by just prompting. And it
was Sting involved?
No.
Oh.
They did make fun of, they tried to get Chappelle Roan to do some of the stuff, but she didn't want to. So
who's that?
Some girl all the kids are into these days. She's from this area.
Yeah, she's from
Willard.
Is she?
Yeah.
So. And I don't know her.
Yeah. Well,
no,
she's not your kind of music, I would say. It's more teeny. It's more like pop type stuff.
That kind.
She does the Pony Club song, talking about stripping at the Pink Pony.
Rumors.
Pony.
That's rumors now, but it used to be.
She talked about stripping at the Pink Pony. But
I have no idea what that is. And Rumors is a strip club in Springfield.
But it's called.
It was called the Pink Pony before it turned into Rumors.
Yeah. I don't think the song's about that, but it's just funny that it happened to be that. She's from here, and we have an adult club called the Pink Pony here. But like I said, like they use Lyria and stuff like that to make music, and what they can do with AI is really good. Like I've seen demonstrations of them using like Gemini to highlight how you have to be vigilant because of scammers and stuff like that. Like they had a whole seminar thing on scammers, and they use like a celebrity's voice and image that you could not tell was AI generated, hawking you stuff. And that's out there all over the place. You could see this just in today's Facebook stuff, where you'll see like them using Joe Rogan's voice and video, and him hawking a product that's not his. And I think what was it, Cheech Marion was talking about, there was some company out there using his name, his face, voice, imagery, selling a CBD product that he's like, I had no affiliation with. And he's like, as fast as I would squash one, they would pop it up as another company name and just keep doing that. So it's really getting difficult out there. And AI detection utilities just can't pick up on the majority of this stuff as easy as like used to. Like used to be, you could feed it into there and it would be like, this is 98% positive this is AI. And now it's like, I am 37% positive that this is AI, which means that it might not be, more than likely not, So it's out there. It is just going to be a ever growing market as people delve in and use more and more AI.
Right.
Because there's a lot of use cases out there for AI that aren't being taken advantage of by a lot of companies yet. And then there's companies out there that are dabbling in AI that don't really have a use case for it as well, but they're just trying to figure out how they can profit off of it. So they're running dev kits against models, or trying to build their own models, because building your own models is where it gets expensive. But if you can utilize a model that somebody else already built, then you save yourself time and money. And there's money to be made in people who build models and then, lease them out, or, push them out for subscribers and things like that. Because Google does that on their own. They have their own models that they will build and they will release for public use and things like that. So, but they usually hide behind like a per coin usage or something like that, depending on what you're trying to build. But yeah, I mean, but Nvidia, like I said, I partnered with Google, and they're building these, I can't remember what they're called. Like they're like hyperflow units or something. See if I can see it again. Cause I saw an actual, mock-up dev kit when I was at Google Next of this AI, like portable AI. I mean, it's big. It's they call it portable because you can ship it to your in-house location, but it was still big, massive, and like just about anything that's server side. So Google and Nvidia have some type of partnership with that, while Google is also using their own TensorFlow TPU stuff. So and they're putting that all their data centers, and it's something they built. It's homegrown, homebrewed. So it's just AI is here to stay. And it's only going to get more. It's only going to be more invasive out there,
more Skynetty.
Yeah, well, yep. And then the regulations just haven't caught up with it yet, because right. I think there needs to be regulations in a lot of things. To say, I think if a video game is made with AI, or a movie is made with AI, or music is made with AI, it needs to come with like an info label that says produced with AI or something, just to let the public know this AI, because there's stuff out there today that you just can't tell.
I mean, that's what I was kind of getting at when I was saying about the companies not thinking, or maybe it's not companies, maybe the government or whoever, not thinking beyond,
they're not thinking beyond their wallets.
Exactly. Right. And thinking like, when we do develop these things, or when this thing becomes, whatever we're trying to make it become, like, yes, there does need to be some regulation and some things, because otherwise you have the wild, wild west when it comes to AI. Right. And it becomes, unmanageable at some point. But there's also those Google VO AI videos that have been going around.
Yep, Google VO.
Yeah. Which have been, people.
That's Gemini VO.
That's pretty crazy. They have the VO3, I guess, that people are wigging out on. I've seen a few of those. They're pretty, it's pretty dang good.
So yeah, they actually did a when I was at the Google Cloud Next, they actually were in the Sphere in Vegas, and they did a demonstration of Gemini recreating the Wizard of Oz in the Sphere. That tells you how powerful this is, and how they were using their Gemini and a few other assets to increase the footage size of the film and basically enhance it to be on the Sphere, because the Sphere is not like a 16:9, right? Or whatever the original Wizard of Oz was. And they showed off this technology in the Sphere. So, they're doing a lot. Like, it's enhancing video. It's bringing back, it's got a lot of cool usages for it, but it can be abused, I think. What I mean by abused is when, that's like Shane said, you're taking people's jobs away. Like, there's still the whole video game strike going on because they have a real problem with AI, and they're going I don't know how I feel about this. Part of me is on the side of the video game actors guild, or whatever their guild, and then part of me is like, at some point you're pushing for too much, because they're wanting to say that one of the stipulations I'd read was that you can't make a game with AI voice without getting the okay. And we're not talking about like a person's voice, like an existing person's voice, a voice without hitting the guild first to get permission. And I'm like, but they're not using any of your people's voice. They're just making an AI, and they want to use an AI generated voice. And they're like, no, you need to get permission because you're taking away somebody's job. So I understand that aspect, but at the same time, that's a little bit far reaching, because I still think at some point AI is deadpan in everything it does. Like, it's monotone. It's not it has no emotion, no feel behind what it does. And sometimes you can tell that in the audio that it makes, or the video, the way the videos like portray. When you're looking at the video, you're like, that thing has like a deadpan look, or a non-expressive. When it talks, it's not expressive. And you're like, okay, so that.
But sorry,
that will only
sorry
get
to
better.
cut you off, but the problem with that thought though is it's not going to remain that way.
No,
AI is just it's just constantly evolving. Like we were talking about the baby videos. It seems like the each one you see next after the last is just that much better. And
it learns to get stronger, right?
And
better.
I understand I do understand what you mean about is that far reaching, but I try to look, and I don't even like people, but I try to put the people aspect involved in this situation. I don't want to see these voice actors lose their jobs.
Yeah, me neither.
Think about it this way. Dragon Ball Z. Nick, what's our biggest complaint between the Japanese version and English version? Japanese version, Goku sounds like a 9-year-old little girl getting kicked in the nuts. The English version is what, basically we kind of grew up on. If AI can mimic his voice, but take it to an octave higher or an octave lower, and that's the only difference, that guy's going to lose his job. If they can get the passion down that he has, and the real Goku,
right? But at the same time, you're going to say like a small indie developer that can't afford to hire voice actors can't voice act his game, can't have his game fully voiced because he wants to use AI and he can't afford to pay, even if it's a menial salary of $10,000 to have his game voiced. He's like, I just can't afford that. I don't make any money yet until the game's released.
Then so you can go to McDonald's down the road and say, hey, buddy, you want to stop flipping that burger for an hour and let's try this.
But he can't afford it. Like he's working at McDonald's himself trying to make his video game.
It's a double-edged sword, though.
That's what I'm saying, though, is that's where I'm at. I'm like, okay, it's using the technology that's available to you. Right. And you're being restricted because, I'll just point it out this way. There's no union to protect my job, Nick's job, your job. So we have nobody to protect ours. And if AI gets to that point and it takes the jobs, and then it's like, okay, cool. All these artists, are going to have their stuff protected because of a union, but at the same time, there's not going to be anybody to buy it, right? Because we all ain't going to have jobs to buy it, right? Yeah. I don't know where it's going to go with that. We're going to have to get some type of universal salary or something. I don't know, for the government. You always make this no matter whether you work or not.
Make star credits.
Yeah, star credits. You can buy Star Crunch with star
but
credits.
The whole thing is our robot overlords don't need emotion,
Nope.
So
hell, neither do our politicians, apparently.
when they do get emotions, that's when all these actors will be in trouble, right? Because
right now, for AI, in my part, for AI, you have to prompt, right? So you basically put in keywords, commands, and things like that. And from there, it learns, right? Common prompts and what you've put in and stuff, and kind of recognizes things. Like, eventually it's going to get to the point where you won't even have to, eventually, right? It's going to be to the point where you won't even have to prompt it, right? It's going to be able to learn on its own. And that's kind of scary. Just put it out there.
And prompted AI is just, they do learn a little bit from you, but the model's already been taught, right? It's just,
right.
You're just,
it's just going to get to the point where
it's taking what you fed into it. And if you have to give it 5 prompts to perfect the image that you want, it's going to be like, okay, what did I do wrong? Somebody's probably in the background statistically saying, okay, what did the AI do wrong here that we need to better train the model, right? Because it's like, hey, this person, I'll use a perfect example. Like, I was looking, I was putting on a presentation. I was trying to generate images through Copilot, mind you. And Copilot's not, I'm not the biggest fan of Copilot, but I had to prompt this thing like 20 times to get an image. And to me, that was just a waste of time. But I'd already invested because I was trying to do something, and it would make an image, and I would say, okay, take that image, but make it more like this. And then it would just like, and I would say make it, and you have to start getting precise. It'd be like 10% more this art style. And then it would just completely wash the whole image out, and you would have this other, and you're like, that's not what I wanted.
I've had that problem with Copilot too. So.
Yeah. So, and I'm not the biggest Copilot fan out there, but I think Gemini does a lot better of a job. But it's Microsoft product, and Copilot's Microsoft product, and everybody is just like on the Microsoft bandwagon in corporations usually, because Copilot embeds into like everything Microsoft, and then like Gemini embeds into everything. Like, if you're a Google Workspace person, you probably have Gemini. If your shop's a Microsoft shop, you probably are using Copilot. So
before we go, all I can say is if I lose my effing job because of a freaking I better at least get me a sex robot out of this.
Shane's going to be like the South Park episode with all the people in town going in the naked dog pound. They took our jobs. We're gonna make it to where they're not even born, right?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a scary future in my opinion.
Yeah, it's uncharted, but I'm sure everybody thought the same thing when the automobile came along, and then
killed my horse.
All right, and so everything changes. That's the marching progress of society. everything changes. Only time will tell.
Hopefully it changes for the better, right?
That's what I'm saying. So for the better. So, we got off topic here about Nvidia, but I mean, it kind of ties in with Nvidia dropping, their GPU, their 50 series GPU production level. What are we going to see next? What are we going to see for the July timeframe and August timeframe? Where they're like, well, we're going to lower another 10%, another 5%. So we'll see what they say. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Do you think AI is going to take over? AI is going to be Skynet in a couple of years, and then we're all going to be John Connor fighting for our future, and what do we think? What do you guys think down in the comments? What do you think about the whole AI scheme? And what do you think about Nvidia, really? More on the gaming aspect, what do you think about Nvidia and their shifting focus and kind of sticking it to the gamers again, like they did during the crypto craze, where everybody's building mining rigs? Let's know what you think down in the comments. And if you're not subscribed, why not? You reach the end of this episode, hit that subscribe button, help us out. Make sure you hit that bell as well so you get notified when we put out new videos. We put out multiple videos every week. So and Nick just recently posted his Switch 2 Amateur Hour, found footage review. So go check that out and, help us out. We hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.
See ya.